Welcome to Tech Simplified. Today, we're continuing the Great Woman in Tech podcast series. I have a phenomenal guest, Amber Ivey. And when you listen to her background, you're going to be excited. Let me give a brief introduction. Amber Ivey, also known as AI, is currently a vice president at a nonprofit where she leads a team that helps government drive impact. In her prior role as a senior director for Bloomberg Philanthropies Center for Government Excellence at Johns Hopkins University, she led a team that assisted governments utilizing data and performance management for decision making. Furthermore, she plays a key role in the design and launch of the Bloomberg Philanthropists City Data Alliance. The program aims to train 100 mayors and their senior leaders throughout the Americas on utilizing data to achieve better outcomes. She also has her own AI for Kids podcast that I can't wait for her to share more about. I'm teaching my daughter AI. So can you give an even deeper background story of how you first got started, education, and how you got to where you are now? Because I know there was a lot of work you did behind the scenes that we didn't see.
Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with your guests. My journey is a little weird. I'm not one of those people who grew up and said, oh, yeah, I know exactly I want to end up where I am today. I did not at all. It was a journey of having the right people in the right places directing me along the way. And what did that look like? Having really good mentors. I started my life in logistic management. I know you're like, wait, how did you go from logistic management to now talking about AI for kids? And honestly, it was there where I discovered that I was really good with data, really good with making things work. And I was like, all right, I need to do this for someone beyond making a company money. I wanted to do something more. And it started with a Google search of me seeing like, how do you make the world better? I wanted to take my skills and improve the world in some way. I learned about how data could be used to improve government and had the opportunity to work in the state of Maryland for then Governor O'Malley and his state SAT program, where we work hand in hand with the governor, helping him reach his goals, using data to help people either what related to helping reduce the mortality rate or women who were dying when they were having babies, to looking at how we looked at climate change, to ensuring that we had energy. I was able to have a really good first job out of my grad program that allowed me to dig into this stuff. It kept going from there. I started working and researching how states were using data. I am a data person that focuses particularly in government because I believe that government is a place that has a lot of inefficiencies, back to my logistics background. And I believe that there's a place for efficiency in government to help improve it. Really came through, learned about how this data thing works. And then as I was learning that, I started learning about predictive analytics and AI and doing research there. And I'm like, it's funny because my initials are AI, so I better know what this thing is because it may ruin my name. So mostly I focus on that topic, particularly in the government space. But as I was doing some of that work, I realized like adults are a little bit afraid unless you're truly into tech. They're afraid of AI. So I shifted from talking about it to adults to saying, hey, we need to talk about this with kids. By day, I talk about data driven decision making for governments. By night, I help kids understand AI in a better way.
That's amazing. I know you trying to downplay it. And for you to make that pivot, I think it's pretty cool, right? For you to have the courage to switch. How do I go to AI? I know my initials are AI, but how do I make that transition? Bravo for you to making that choice because now you're driving even more impact. And I like how you said that one little search you did on how do I make the career of the world better, right? You took the first step. One thing I like to share is you might be one step away for your next opportunity, right? And that search was your one step away. Then you got many searches until you got to where you are now, and you got even more things you're going to get to in the future. But I thought that was pretty cool. And if you're thinking about it, if you're in, I grew up with, I love computers, right? I've been building
Mhm.
computers since I was a little kid. So for me and computers, it made sense where I am today. But some people don't, like yourself. And sometimes I find that even better from the people like myself because they don't have the old view of the world. They see it differently. They bring in their insights from industries into IT that's sometimes even more valuable than learning what buttons to click on the keyboard. So thank you for doing that. If you're afraid out there and you want to get in there, if you're doing something completely different, let's take the step today. What's your first search going to be? Ask some questions
Oh,
for
yeah.
any type of engine that you're going to use, whether it's Google, Claude, whatever one you use, just ask it in there. I want to get started. What do I do? Watch free YouTube videos, do boot camps, do school, whatever you can. Education is there between free and paid. One thing I think I do, the reason why, like for my tagline is always be learning, because in this
Mhm.
field, you have to love learning. As this, I could tell you do already, you have a strong appetite for that. And you
Oh,
also
yeah.
love teaching and educating, and that's what we're doing now.
Let me
So
one of the things that you just said to your audience is around learning, but also I've heard this and it actually worked for me. So part of it was I was learning and researching this space, but then people tell you if you want to be a better teacher or better learner, you should start teaching it. So when you teach something, you actually challenge yourself to move from whatever's in the books, whatever you're doing through research and actually applying it. I knew that was helpful. I also realized while I was working in logistics or data and I was working with people and I also help folks launch technologies on government, particularly in courts.
yeah,
Each of these groups, they didn't talk to each other. The tech person didn't talk to the lawyer didn't talk to the public policy person, didn't talk to the data person. So what
yeah,
I said to myself was that was my intersection because I knew enough across all those areas to be a good communicator. And regardless, whether you're in tech or not, you're going to need good communicators and people who can see the problem across the full landscape and bring solutions. So if you have those weird roles that you think may not connect, it actually does, like you said, connect at the end of the day.
you just explained my role as a partner technology strategist. My
Mhm.
background, I'm at the school for marketing, business, and IT. So I
Ah,
can talk to the business executives, I can talk to the marketing team, I can talk to the finance team, I can talk tech. And my job is to bring everything together as a strategist. I had these different careers. I was doing private marketing, I was doing pre-sales, I did sales, I did all. I worked as a network engineer in the state of New York when I first started. A completely different role, not intersection. Right? I became a director of marketing. People look at my background like, you didn't know what you wanted to do. I'm like, actually, I just like learning new things, trying new things, but it helped me for this new role I'm doing now. Even training people, like you said, my first video, if you go on my YouTube, I was in Amsterdam and I was using, I think, Wi-Fi, and it was like so many fake Wi-Fis that I found. So I was telling people and I was teaching people because I was working at a cybersecurity company. I went over there and I'm seeing all these trapped Wi-Fi things. I started sharing it. Production is terrible, right? But I wanted to go from theoretical knowledge to application. And the best thing I found is doing this. Now I even found stories that can catapult your learning experience. What I learned years, we can share it and you can gather it that way. I love everything that you said. I know it's a cheesy question people ask, but now that we got to a certain part, we got a little bit more time to reflect. One thing I always like to ask myself, I want to ask you is what advice you wish you knew at the start of your career?
I wish I knew an understanding of my worth, and it sounds weird, and I'll break it down. I was in logistics management first. I've always been good with math growing up, and that's always been a thing. I did logistics because when there was money in it, I could get a quick job, had an internship right before the Great Recession. I was employed making good money. But then when I shifted over to the government side of things, I discounted all the stuff I had learned. Like I had read up to a $30 million process beforehand. When I came to government, I was like, I don't have this type of experience. So I discounted all the lessons I had learned. I was top in my region. People were coming to me for training in that particular space. All my employees were high potential very well. But when I got into a new career, I was like, oh, I need to start at the bottom. I didn't need to start. But I did. I discounted all that and I started at the bottom. So one thing I will say is all of our life experiences, all of our work experiences matter, even if you're making a transition into another space, because those skill sets can be utilized. Know what you're worth. Know that those things can be used. That's one thing. I do want to call out another one. People always talk about networks. Your networks are so important. It's something I learned later, but every single job I've had since I've come into government was because of I volunteered somewhere, I met someone at some event, and we just hit it off, and they helped me get to the next opportunity. I had a good teacher, professor, et cetera, or great boss somewhere along the way. Every single way along the path, someone has helped open the door to the next space. Often careers can feel like you're alone and you're doing it by yourself, but there are a lot of people who are willing to help. So expand yourself, make sure you're getting to know people and even just checking in on people here and there. It opens the opportunity for potential career opportunities. Every single job I have is because of someone else. I can truly say that.
And I will say amen to that because exactly my last 5 jobs, I knew the person. Whether it was someone saw me working, I said, "You're really good, you should do this. Have you thought about doing this?" Or one of my managers, "I'm going over here. Sly, we want you to come too. Sly, you should think about this." So I don't know about that role. And my manager is like, "Hey, Sly, I know you're a mover and shaker, but you about to have just moves to a new location. You just had a kid. You sure you want to do a whole new job?" So I end up doing it, found out what they meant when I got there. Network is your net worth. I know they say that, but it's very true.
It's so true.
I go to startup events, women in tech events. I go, I talk, I meet people. You never know how that one person you can help, or they might help you in the future. So If you're like me, I can talk to people, but sometimes I like to be home and relax. I had to force myself to go out to these places because it's so easy to stay home now, especially after COVID, and go
Same.
out to events. I go shake hands. I realized I was doing all this stuff. No one knew me in Buffalo, right? So that was something that I thought was pretty, I love what you said. Knowing your worth is essential. One of my first blogs I wrote when I was younger, it's called The Power of Transferable Skills. I learned it a little bit earlier because I worked at White Castle when I was a little kid. I learned customer service, and I didn't think that would help me going forward. I needed a job, and I did. So when I got into tech support, everything I learned before helped me. I'm on the phone. They not a phone. They can't hit me or anything. So I'm putting the phone down, letting people get up. Hey, did you get everything off your chest? Let's keep it moving. These small parallels actually helped me in my career. That's something when I was in college now helps me in my new role. I wanted to be a teacher. Doing YouTube videos makes sense. I already know how to make a curriculum. I was in marketing. I used to do spoken word, prepare my speeches and the poems. All those things work. You don't know how they go together, but that's what makes each of us unique. Even though we can grow up in the same time zone, the same place, go to the same schools, our interactions, our thoughts, the things we do make us who we are and how that can be monetized, leverage that, right? If you're going into a new role in tech, one of my other boys, I'm helping them switch from like car rental sales into tech. Like he like, I don't have anything. I'm like, you're a sales rep. You could be a tech salesperson. You
Yeah.
already know how to talk to people. People like you. So I started having doing some of my videos. Eve Edmonds, he's on there. And his videos get more views than me. So I'm like, dude, obviously people like you. And I can teach you the tech stuff. I can't teach you how to have a conversation. And I introduce them to people and I can tell when they call me, oh, he's really good, right? So I'm teaching them all these things. I told them like this, believe in yourself. It's gonna take time. This is a tough market right now, but you gotta keep trusting this like always the next step, like we talked about, you're one step away, right?
Mhm.
One conversation away. I love that you said that. So thank
Can
you.
I add to that as well? I just thought
Yep.
about the data person in me wouldn't be right unless I point to a study. So actually, there's
Yep.
a recent study that just came out. Rob Shetty is a major economist that has been doing work in understanding how folks get to economic mobility in general. His recent study shows the number one factor in you moving up in wealth and across economic mobility or to financial stability is if you're around people who have a higher net worth than you. So we've said it for years, but now we actually have data that shows even if you're a Black kid in Baltimore, if you're around or going to school with kids who have a higher net worth, you naturally will have a higher net worth. So that is so important, and there's data behind it to say that's actually true.
That
Beyond
makes I think that's amazing. I think that makes a lot of sense because my family immigrated from Barbados. We
Mhm.
was in Brooklyn. We was in Bed-Stuy in the 90s. It was rough. My neighbor, he went to Cornell. He owned his own practice. We had two Black doctors across the street that I used to talk to. And then even when I went to school near New York City and in downtown Brooklyn, and the kids there, some of them like me, but some of them came from higher net worth individuals. When I went to college in Buffalo, everyone had money except for me. It's like it was completely different now. Like I can really see like the stuff that I realized that I would do at home, like or in my neighborhood, it wasn't accepted. Like I'm not my new friends, Black friend, he already knew he wanted to be a doctor. He like Sly, you got 70 average, I can't hang out with you. We cannot hang out so you can get that average up. So what did I do? My average went up. It like became like a 3.5 or something like that. And I'm working with them and they helping me because they got better habits. They got
Mhm.
better opportunities. They got more money. He's teaching me to go, oh, Sly, take that job over there. You can get a job at a golf club in Chelsea. Go back and do that job because you're going to meet a lot of people with money there. Right? You're going to hear conversations, what they're talking about. I'm hearing about stocks. I think I lived it, right? I came, my family, my mom and dad have graduated from Barbados, maybe junior high school, maybe did a little bit of high school. We always learned and they made us read and they made me
Oh,
have a
yeah.
certain level of the new education was our freedom, right? So they put me in situations to be better. And shout out to my older brother. He was the first person to go to college and show me the ropes, right? And all his friends, they all were driving nice cars. They went to college. And they all still today in Brooklyn, a quick promotion. He has a wine bar called the Franklin Cellars, and it was
Oh,
on the
wow.
news and everything, Black owned. And him and his friends did it from college. So to me,
That is so
that
cool.
always showed me that it was possible to do these things, right? I'm glad that you said that. I can feel the radiation of your passion around AI and data. I'm gonna ask you this question. Can you talk a little bit more about your podcast and what you're doing? So what drives your passion? Because I think I know what it is.
So It's wild because beforehand, I was telling you how I was doing research on this space, particularly in government spaces. I was learning about how predictive analytics and all this thing was. During COVID, I had the opportunity to interact with the GPT-3 model before it came out for the masses for ChatGPT. Or a group called Create Labs. They're Black and brown owned company that was trying to help kids and adults in general just interact with AI in a different way. So they built this AI avatar that was on the GPT-3 model at the time. We were interacting on this app called Clubhouse. Clubhouse got really popular during COVID. It was a talking app where you just talk to people. And I got introduced to this AI named Clara. And I was really interested in it. So I reached out to him back to networking, reaching out to people, reached out to him on the side and learned more and interview, talked to him about this tool. And I eventually became the voice for Clara. She uses my voice. She travels the world, speaks a bunch of languages. So fast forward to 2022, when OpenAI drops ChatGPT for everyone, and everyone like loses their mind. It has the most hits to a website, broke the record at the time. Folks are like, "What is this? What's going on? The world's coming to an end." And I'm like, "Hold on, I've been playing with this thing for a few years. It's okay." And it was then that I was like, "I need to write a book about this. The book has to be for kids. It can't be for adults because they're all screaming, running, banning it, and telling kids don't touch it, refusing to bring it in their house. Like it's the worst thing ever, even though Alexa's on there in their house. Google's been in their house. All these different tools have been in their house. Their phones have been using algorithms forever. There's a doctor I interviewed. AI is old to be on Social Security. It's been around for so long, and you have been interacting with this thing, but we all got it free because this thing was in our face and we saw it. So wrote a book first called AI Meets AI, and it was for my nieces and my soon to be born nephew because they were already using these tools every single day. Their internet browser isn't Google. Their internet browser is a smart device in the home, right? They were accessing the internet in a way that we didn't understand, playing with things like Roblox, which use some of these algorithms to help for better play. So I was like, I need to focus on kids because kids are going to be using it way more than we do. They're actually living in it. That's literally going to be a partnership that they have. And the book really focuses on this little girl named Addie Iris, also an AI, a human, right? AI, Addie Iris, who meets a robot that got lost from Johns Hopkins University, who's basically GPS is broken. And she meets this little robot and working through the city of Baltimore, helping the robot, training it, how it interacts with humans and how they should work together. I did that because I really wanted kids to understand AI is not this scary thing. It can be scary if not handled in a safe and responsible way. Once that did well, we were like, this needs to be a company. Forget just a book. How can I actually help kids meet in this space? That led to the AI for Kids podcast and why that's so important for me. In my day job, I work across different areas to bring people together. I have to explain things in plain language for people to understand across different groups. There's tech language, there's data language, there's legal language. I break all this stuff down because if I need us all to come together, cannot speak in a way that people don't understand. And so I had ability just to know how to break things down for kids and how to interview people. We interview experts and kids who are using AI. These kids were using AI before 2022. They're literally using this stuff. And every time I interview someone, I'm like amazed and shocked that these little kids, like I said, that was my thesis. Kids are using it. They're already. I met a kid the other day, interviewed him. He's on our last episode. He started coding at 6. You mentioned in the pre-episode, your daughter started code at 5.
Yeah.
He is now on C+ at 11. Telling people C+ is a harder language. Start with the hardest language because then you'll be better. At that age, when kids are preteen, that's when your brain is ready for mastery. Your brain is almost 80% developed by 5.
Yeah.
You can mastery at that age. The Bill Gates of the world, the people who coded when they were young, they're exponentially growing compared to me if I started coding in my 20s or what have you. So I want kids to understand this in an easy way, make it fun, like our podcasts are fun, episodes are fun, and we make sure that kids who are interested can find their niche and intersection. And I'm very passionate about it because I want to make sure that AI doesn't remove creativity and that kids remain creative and know that's so important in this world, as well as they move from users of it to creators of it. So super passionate about the AI for Kids movement. We do it in a safe and responsible way. And I'm the person that's let kids interact with it as long as there's a parent or a teacher involved. They should be interacting with this and getting better and knowing how to use these tools. It's no different than when we all learn how to use a touch screen in my mind. Like
Oh,
from touching buttons to literally understanding what it means to touch a screen. I think AI is going to be that integrated into our lives that it has to be a part of what we do.
yes. And bravo. I love it. I'm 100% behind that. The reason why is my daughter teaches me all the time. My dad, I don't think you're right. Hey, Google, can I do X, Y, and Z? Yes. I'm like, oh, I was wrong. Apologize about that. She was telling me a type of toad. I'm like, I don't know. It's a toad. I don't know what type of toad it is. hey, Google. And she went on the picture, well, an iPhone, clicked on it, and
Mhm.
it told her it was American Toad or something like that. So, yeah, she's been using it already, even that not for me, or the way she even uses the computer. Like when we on the computer on my TV, she goes to YouTube on the TV and she'll start clicking and learning that. Right? I'm like, you can't read, how you know where you're going? Right, you
Exactly.
know? So I'm like, so it's just funny just watch how kids will use technology. 'Cause certain stuff I just never use. I remember my daughter going to dad, why you didn't use this button over here? I'm like, I didn't even know that button was there. So it's just funny watching them learn. Like my son, who's 2, questions everything. Why did we do this? I'm like, I don't actually know. Let me go Google it. My daughter's like, why Google? Just ask Siri. Oh yeah. Hey Siri, why did I do that? So I remember yesterday I was helping my kids. My daughter was struggling with the number 6 and trying to draw to write it. So I went on ChatGPT and asked, like, hey, can you give me a cool saying on how to teach my 5-year-old daughter the number 6? And it came up with a pretty cool saying. It worked really well. She learned it. She started drawing the 6s and everything. So then I started doing that for 7, 8, 9, and 10. I have a tutor in my pocket helping me how to explain it better the
Oh,
way
yeah.
that she would understand. So yeah, technology is awesome. I'm glad that you get in the kids' perspective because I remember when I was younger learning about computers. I built my first computer. I broke it, put it apart. I read the book. I learned it, played with it, did things. My parents didn't understand what I was doing. My mom was like, you need to go outside more. You ain't going to be able to make any money in the future. I'm like, Mom, I think this computer thing is going to be here to stay. But luckily now, I never leave the house to make money. Like, my mom don't even understand. I can't wait to listen to it. I'm going to start listening to some of your episodes. I'm going to be sharing it on my platform as well. I think you got something really good going. So keep on going. And this kind of goes into our next question. What books or podcasts have inspired you? First of all, what's the name of your book? Put that in there and the name of your podcast, and then we can go from there.
Great. So my book is called AI Meets AI. We've continued other books. We also have a book coming out very soon called Let Kids Be Kids, Not Robots, which again, embracing childhood in the age of AI. Also, again, teaches kids about AI, but reminds them to be kids. And then the podcast is AI for Kids. Super simple on every single platform that you would get your podcast. We do episodes for elementary as well as middle and up. Each one is labeled so you know where your kids should go. And hope is that we grow up with kids and then we're the entry point to this. Some of my favorite podcasts, I really love How I Built This.
That's
That
good.
podcast is I didn't start with it when it first started, but I started at the beginning. The reason I love that podcast is it helps break down the mentality of people who have built great things, no matter what it is, a business or ideas. It helps me think about how, as I'm trying to build something, how I should do that. So that's really important to me. Books, I've read a lot of good books this year. I love Atomic Habits, mainly because I wanted to structure how I think about my habits and what that means. And I love the idea of like habit stacking. So one thing they point out is if you have a habit already, you want to
Mhm.
add a new habit to it, stack it on top.
Yep.
So I can brush my teeth every day and then I want to read. I brush my teeth and then read right after.
Yep.
So I'm in a book club, so we read all these crazy books all the time. I
Uh,
also just read Can We Trust AI through Dr. Roman Chapella over at Hopkins. That's a good book if you're interested in AI. Those would be my main ones. I'm
That's
always listening to podcasts and Audacity is on my phone. So I buy the book in person or buy the physical book, and then I also buy the audiobook and try to go back and forth between both.
oh, no, that makes sense. I do the same thing. I have one book here called Disciplined Entrepreneurship.
Ah,
There, I actually have podcasts and that. So I go through, listen to it, and I go through, see the different things. I got to be a little bit more disciplined when I'm doing these things. In addition, even when I'm at work, I run my accounts like a business. How do I help them achieve more? That's one book. Another book can sell like crazy. I know it's cheesy,
I
but
haven't
for me
seen that
being
one.
a tech person, I focus on products, service, and providing it. Then I'm like, man, if I
Okay.
got something good, you should come to it. Then I'll see inferior products, in my personal opinion, get way more shot. But then I realized they got funnel, they got click rates, the way they did it. They actually found someone
Back
who
or
had a
back.
bigger network, right? They got so many other things that they did. So I had to
Mhm.
take that about. They realized they didn't need the best product, but they had the best way to get the product to market. And
So
they
true.
did a lot of, I say they asked the right questions, did a lot of customer research, real data, not just static data that they found online. So I started relearning that. So that was another good one. Another one of AI that I thought was interesting was AI compatibility. That one was a really good book. It just talked about how AI is and how it's not going to take over the world. They got other things they can do. And it broke down the benefit of, like you said, it's been around since like the 50s, right? It's a really good book that I just listened to just so I can start understanding. And another book, if you want, is Data Science Business Professional.
Think I've heard of that one. That one's in my
Yeah.
list.
One's really good. I realized I'm probably not gonna be the person creating the algorithm, right? But I need to understand it as a business professional and how to
Oh, yeah.
leverage it. Microsoft has something called the DP 900, is like Data Fundamental Cert, or the AI 900 Fundamental Cert, right? Those things get you into the basics of data from a Microsoft lens, right? It's free. Some of the content is free. I might have content on our website also, so you can learn that, right? So there's so much free content everywhere. So
Oh,
thanks
yeah.
for sharing that. Been a great conversation. What's some ways our audience can follow your work and get in touch with
We're on all platforms, but I am going to focus on one platform coming up, and that's YouTube. Right now, you can find us using our name, AI Digitals. So instead of digitals, we use
you? Yeah,
AI Digitals. So you can find us at AIDIGITALES on all platforms, but we are shifting towards focusing purely on YouTube. AI for Kids is available on all podcasts.com, gets you to wherever you need to connect with us.
perfect. I don't want it to end. It's been great talking to you, Amber. I
Mhm.
learned a lot. Feel like my audience is gonna enjoy it. So thank you for being amazing. I can't wait to interview you 5, 6 years from now. 'Cause I can already tell that you're gonna be continue trailblazing in this field. So thank you for being you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You, thank you, Sly. Thank you, everyone.
Peace. Sly Gittens and Amber are out.